All right, we're headed to the barn on this magnificent day. Look at this tree bloom. I'm so happy we planted this thing. I have no idea what it is, but I love what it does. Look at these flowies. They're like little pink gifts. And then we get berries on them later in the year. So, yeah, if you guys know what it is, let me know. This is one we planted, obviously, since it's so tiny. We've managed to protect it from the deer. And it's actually grown quite a bit since we planted it about 2 years ago. So I'm excited about that. We're headed down to see baby goats, don't worry. The pond inhabitants are doing well. And you may have noticed I have the Sofinator, aka Wonder Weenie, and Bailey, intrepid farm dog that he is. Whoops, there we go. All the baby goats are sleeping. Nobody's out and playing. But more importantly, oh, we have to make a stop. Look at this. I have things to tell you, and we keep having to make a stop because there's nothing better than when the grass is too high. Let's see. Oh, there you go. Way to go. Bounce it off the fence pole. Do you see it? Have you spotted it yet? The panther hunting grounds. That's a really good shot. I gotta stay still for a second so I can maybe get a screenshot of that later for a photo. All right. I promise, baby goats, they're coming. So, hey guys, and I also have important news to tell you. Welcome back to Racing for Home Farm. I'm Pam. This is where the animals rule the schedule, and I'm just along for the ride. Nothing here is scripted, obviously, and everything is completely unplanned. We just come on down to the barn. We wake up some baby goats. Oh my goodness, it's a baby goat nap. Look at all of them. Moms, babies, everybody's just piled up in the shade. Must be tired. Are they tired? Oh my goodness. Look at Denali looking so amazing now that she's been groomed out. And Miss Fanta, you look like a sheep. You need groomed out pretty bad, but your stuff comes out easy because you have no long hair. You end up last on the list. I'm sorry about that. You do have a dirty nose, though. Can we clear that for you? There we go. Look at that. Now you have a clean nose. Did I finish my intro? Probably not. Doesn't matter. If you're still here, it's all good. So, best news of the day, Mr. Hugo Bugo, the Hugo Monster, the Potato, Mr. Potato Head, and all of the other fun things. Hoogie Boogie, the Boogeyman, everything else that we call him. He has so many nicknames. It's impossible. He's home. He is out of the hospital. He is home and recovering. So let's see if I can. Oh, hi, Lotus. You enjoying the nice nap here? See if we can get a better view or a better angle on these babies. I don't think we can. I think I'm going to have to go disturb everybody, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. They're all settled down for naps, though I feel really sad disturbing them. So let's take a walk for a second. I'll come at them from the back end. So Hugo came home after about 36 hours in the hospital, give or take a few hours here or there. He went in pretty significantly distressed, as you guys know from the story I told. And quite frankly, I was rather concerned that he was not going to come out of the hospital. And I think his vets were just as concerned. So my local vet who sent us off to the emergency room, toot sweet, absolutely. See, I disturbed them just by coming in this way. Hi, guys. So our local vet, needed updates, was waiting patiently. It took a long time to get him processed and taken care of. And so once he was admitted, we all kind of settled down for a bit, got some overnight updates from the techs. He was still, on oxygen. They had him on antibiotics. They had him on supportive care. But overall, he was stable, and that was it. The next morning, I got a call from the emergency vet who admitted him. She had consulted with additional radiologists, a couple of specialists. That's the beauty of having an emergency hospital, where you actually have all these specialists that come in on a regular basis. Oh, the donkeys have come up to say hi. Everybody's springy today. They must all be celebrating the news that Hugo's home. So the consensus from all of the specialists that have seen him, that evaluated his x-rays, that evaluated, the background and everything that I gave, the consensus is it was aspiration pneumonia, which is unusual because he's not a fast eater. He doesn't inhale his food, but certainly manageable, right? What it means really is that we had a special cause event. He somehow managed to get something into his lung that it shouldn't have done. It caused his lung to cloud up and to effectively become pneumonia. He was definitely more affected on one lung and not the other. And then what he was doing to get air is or to get oxygen, he was gasping, gulping air, which is the type of heavy breathing or the heaving I was seeing. And that was filling his stomach with air, filling his esophagus with air. So those x-rays looked like he was, bloating and, ready to have a stomach twist and need emergency surgery. Then his secondary set of x-rays at the emergency vet kind of confirmed that there was no stomach twist, and it was more likely that he was just gulping air as he was trying to breathe, and that it was really more concentrated on his lungs. That's how we started to treat for pneumonia. And then the specialists, taking a look at it, confirming again that the belief is, again, with this rapid onset, with no signs of symptoms, even, hours before, and then just this almost instantaneous onset, and real decline real quickly, was aspiration pneumonia. So he's home. He was in oxygen for a little over 24 hours, and then they started to wean him off. To give you an idea of where we were, when we took him into the emergency room, his respiratory rate was about 70. It should be 20. So that was not good. By the next morning with, the supplemental care, he was back to more of a 30-ish range, which was much more normal. Still not perfect, but much more normal. And then, again, they weaned him off of oxygen. He was able to maintain that respiratory rate. So he's still breathing a little harder than he should be. He's still working a little harder than he needs to be to breathe, but it's improving, and he doesn't need supplemental oxygen. And certainly at that point, it's time to bring him home because we can do the care at home here. So care at home here. Why is he not on camera? Believe me, he wants to be. He's in the house right now, quite angry at me because I had to tell him he couldn't come. He wanted to come. So he is feeling better. But it's really, he needs to stay quiet. We don't want to have him exert himself and raise his respiratory rate unnecessarily, right? So we don't want him running. We don't want him getting overly excited and getting to a point where he might need to pant. It's actually beautifully warm out here today. So we're trying to limit his time in the warmth so that he doesn't pant, right? We want to make sure that his breathing stays as steady and as normal as possible. He's on 2 different antibiotics. He's on a couple of other medications for any reflux or regurgitation that is happening because of his breathing. Thankfully, we haven't seen that yet at home. and we'll slowly, take those medications off. So we've got about 2 weeks of medications that he needs to be on, and it's it's a lot of pills all through the day. It took a while to get a calendar written up with some scheduling and figure out who was going to give what and who had to navigate around work and everything else, but we had it figured. And then the other thing we need to do is he needs to be they call it coupage, right? So he needs to go into essentially a steam room. So you can use, a hot shower and run the hot water in your shower and have him locked in the bathroom is usually the way folks go. And then after about 10 minutes of that steamy air, that moist, warm air that he's breathing in, 10, 15 minutes of that, you do a bit of a banging on his chest to sort of loosen up what's in his lungs and get him to cough it up. Ideally, he does cough it up, which is what some of these medications are to help with. So that's where we're at. We are not doing bathroom coupage because, again, it's not as effective, right? You have to fill a whole room with steam. Yes, can you do it? Absolutely. Our bathrooms are kind of on the larger side, and that takes a lot of steam, and it's just we've set up an actual, like, a nebulizer crate for him, and we're using, it's actually really nice, it's a Vicks VapoRub warm air humidifier, so it actually warms the water, creates the steam. Obviously, we're not using any Vicks medication, so it's really just warm steam. We have them in a plastic airline crate. You know what those look like. They're the ones that you ship animals in and all that. We have tons of those around just for over the years they've collected. Covered up the sides, left the front open, right? Because you kind of need that balance between regular air and warm, moist air. And it's perfect, right? It's small enough that we can get that area filled with warm, moist air pretty quickly. So it's less time that he has to be confined. In about 10 minutes, the area was, nice and full of steamy, good air for him to inhale. He was nice and misted, right? But he wasn't sopping wet. And we were able to do the coupage. So that'll continue for a while. Again, probably that 2-week time frame. And we need to do that 3 times a day. So all of that's now worked into our daily routine. And frankly, he's worth not only the expense of all the veterinary care and x-rays, but he's worth all the extra effort, right? There are people rooting for him left and right, and you guys, I appreciate you so much for that. It meant the world to me. I just share this stuff because it is what's happening on the farm, and he is a part of the farm. So I want you to be aware of where the characters are and what's going on. But your comments, your well wishes were so helpful, as a worried mama here was waiting overnight for news. And, even as we brought him home and kind of got overwhelmed with, oh my gosh, how are we going to run this, where he has to have some medication on an empty stomach, other medication on a full stomach, who's going to stay home, who's going to go to work. Plus this whole, steam room situation. We got it all figured, though. Everything's good. And your warm thoughts and wishes were really so important to getting there. And to the few folks that, kind of questioned why I would go through so much expense and effort on a senior dog, it's a good question, frankly, and I understand it. And, you have to balance quality of life versus quantity of life, of course. And my decisions are always quality over quantity. And I certainly subscribe to the belief that better to, euthanize an animal 2 days too early than 2 minutes too late, right? I really do believe that fundamentally. But you have to understand, if you've been with the channel for a while, you know that Hugo runs the farm. He walks the woods with us. He comes down to the barn with me every day. That's a long walk for a little Frenchie. He's 19 pounds of fury. He still plays with the other dogs. He does not act his age. And part of that is probably just because of all the activity that he gets. But even at the emergency hospital, a couple of the techs let me know that until they saw his chart, they did not think he was 9. They really, even as dire shape as he was, they thought he was a much younger dog. And that's just how he is right now. So, might something change? He is an older dog, and that is fine. I understand that and recognize that. But his quality of life is phenomenal right now, barring this illness. And this is something that he can recover from without invasive surgery, without, a long-term impact on his health. Why wouldn't I do it? It would have been a different decision or a different conversation if he had GDV or, gastric torsion, which is what we originally thought. And if that had been the case and he needed invasive surgery, which is always risky with a Frenchie, even at the best of times, there would have been some consideration for a different decision before a massive surgery like that. And that decision would have had to been made very quickly because, of course, the situation would have been life-threatening. But we didn't have to make that decision, thankfully. So just understand that if you are, you're challenged to some decisions around an older dog are absolutely correct. And that I just wanted to share where our thought process was and why we did invest as much as we did. A lot. And it's worth every penny, right? To allow him to live out his natural life. This is something, he can get over relatively quickly. 2 weeks in a 9-year lifespan is nothing. And it's very similar to how we decided to treat our little buckling that had the sore leg, right? A couple of bad days in the scheme of a long lifetime is worth every minute of that. So that's where we are. He will be off camera at least for another few weeks. May 4th, for those that are following closely, is his follow-up with his regular vet. We'll get new x-rays and make sure that his lungs look better. Theoretically, they should be clear. See how all his other parts and pieces look now that, he's had a couple of weeks of being decompressed. Do you see this goat up here? Just absolutely flat out. Oh, so stretched. Big sunbathe, and his mother is resting her head on him. Way to go, Mom. So that is the update on Hugo. It is all good news. I'll keep you posted, but if you don't hear anything from me or if I forget to mention, it's just because we're in a routine. He's doing well, and we're just navigating the next 2 weeks until his follow-up appointment with his regular vet so we can get those new x-rays and confirm that our treatment is either, working or needs to be adjusted. So that is where we are. Y'all are fabulous. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for being here. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, go ahead and hit it because, you've listened to me babble on for a while now. You want to come back for more. You want to come back and hang around for that May 4th update on Hugie Boogie. All right, guys. Till next time, there's work to be done. Bye for now.